This isn't an ordinary missile. It's a hypersonic missile. That means it's way faster than supersonic, several times faster to be exact. This specific missile was built by Russia. China and the United States are also developing hypersonic missiles that could carry nuclear warheads and evade traditional defense systems. If that sounds like the makings of a Cold War-style three-way arms race, that's because it most definitely is. And what could go wrong with that?
5 nuclear scientists, described as the elite of Russia's main nuclear test site, killed with 2 others when a small nuclear reactor exploded. They were testing an engine, thought to be for this new cruise missile.
Here's what's behind the race to develop hypersonic weapons.
In 10 years, the field of aeronautics has kept pace with man's desire to fly ever higher, faster, and farther.
So what we're seeing now on the landscape is that the United States has been involved in wars in the Middle East, whereas adversaries like Russia and China have had a lot more time to spend researching and developing hypersonic weapons. So currently the United States does not have any defense against a hypersonic weapon. On top of that, they don't also have any hypersonic weapons of their own. So when you think about the top competitors in this field, you have Russia sprinting to develop hypersonic weapons, and you also have China sprinting to develop theirs. Meanwhile, the United States has been playing backup to this sort of effort.
When we call something supersonic, we're saying it travels faster than the speed of sound, which is about 343 meters per second in air. Think fighter jets and the Concorde. When you hear the phrase Mach 1, that's the speed of sound. Mach 2, 3, 4, and 5 refer to something traveling twice the speed of sound, or 3 times, 4 times. You get the idea. Technically, hypersonic speeds happen at Mach 5 and above. NASA's space shuttle, for example, could travel at 25 times the speed of sound when it re-enters the atmosphere. When we talk about hypersonic weapons, there are 2 major types in development. There are hypersonic cruise missiles. This kind of weapon is launched from aircraft and act like super-fast, self-propelled cruise missiles. And there are hypersonic glide vehicles. These get a boost from a rocket and then glide at super high altitudes before hitting their targets. All that said, hypersonic weapons are virtually impossible to defend against. Most national missile defense networks were set up to deter traditional intercontinental ballistic missiles, like pop flies in baseball, not hypersonic weapons. They need something like a shortstop to catch them.
So the simplest way to explain ballistic missile flight is if I were on a baseball field and I threw someone a ball, you kind of have an idea of where that baseball is going to land. It'll make an arc in the sky and then it will drop down. For hypersonic weapons, they take on their own specific flight patterns. So those are not predictable, and that's why they're the biggest challenge right now for the United States. So a hypersonic missile, for instance, can get arched into the sky and then it can make a right-hand turn or a left-hand turn. So if you think about that baseball analogy, think about a baseball going up in the air and then all of a sudden jutting to the right or jutting to the left or going up a few feet and then going down a few feet.
Attention missile sites. Fire on designated targets. You may fire when ready.
Russia, China, and the United States all want to be the first military with functional hypersonic weapons.
So what the Pentagon is trying to do now is equip all of the service branches, the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Air Force, and the Army with their version of a hypersonic weapon. As we look to what potential defense industries are sort of home-suited to win these types of contracts, Lockheed Martin really is in their swim lane here. Lockheed created the Blackbird, which was able to achieve hypersonic flight and a reconnaissance-type level.
China has a hypersonic glide weapon called the WU-14 in development since 2014. It can reportedly reach speeds of Mach 10. Russia has several hypersonic weapons in development. In 2018, Russian President Vladimir Putin brought hypersonic weapons into the forefront when he announced that testing of one such weapon was complete, the Avangard. Putin claimed the weapon can reach speeds of Mach 20. There's also the hypersonic cruise missile known as Skyfall.
So one of the weapons that Putin showed off back in March last year was a nuclear-powered cruise missile. So that cruise missile, he boasted, could have unlimited flight. So basically what it does is it's not running off of gasoline or anything or rockets, it is constantly fueling itself. So in theory, it's flying at hypersonic speeds and it could fly anywhere around the world. The problem with that is the technical challenges in developing something of that magnitude are significant. And based off of my reporting, Russia hasn't been able to launch this weapon and have a successful test flight of it. So as these hypersonic weapons are emerging and developing, and the ambition is there for Russia and China to add them to their arsenal, what we're seeing happen is deteriorating relationships with the United States as well. For instance, with Russia and the US, the INF Treaty collapsed. When we talk about renegotiating potential treaties, hypersonic weapons could be something that either party decides to add into this new breed of threat moving forward.
The hypersonic arms race is a big deal for national security, and it means big business for U.S. defense firms.
The developments of the hypersonic weapons arms race is going to open up a massive market for defense industry, because when you think about the Navy, the Air Force, the Army all wanting to have their own breed of hypersonic weapon, there's more than enough for defense industry to pick up all of those types of contracts out of the Pentagon.
It's also an arms race among American defense contractors. Currently, the Pentagon has nearly a dozen programs tasked with developing and defending against this new breed of weapons. Last year, the Pentagon awarded 2 multi-billion-dollar hypersonic weapons contracts to Lockheed Martin. And when it comes to hypersonic flight, the defense giant is playing in its home court. Lockheed is also in the process of developing the SR-72, a hypersonic unmanned plane dubbed the son of the Blackbird.
Hypersonic aircraft have been designed and built to fly to the dark edges of space.
As the world's major powers fight to develop these new weapons, they'll need new ways to defend against them as well. And that's not cheap.
Alright, shalawam. First off, I want to say all praises to Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi, bahasham, Kodash. Double honors to our apostles and elders, GMS, and to the elect doing the work in sincerity and in true shalawam. The GMS precepts, Nazar Khad. So this pretty much, if you saw the video, the clip I played in the beginning, that clip was showing the arms race between America and Russia. Okay, the two superpowers on the planet Earth right now. Okay, and also you have these other nations like China. They're getting in the mix as well. They're increasing their military as well, but that's all thanks to Russia. Okay, these other smaller nations, they're increasing their military. They're putting a lot of money into their they're putting a lot of their GDP into their military to continue on that arms race, right? Because the arms race is not over with. You still have other nations that are trying to build up their military. Now, why are they doing that? Ultimately, because the Most High is putting the spirit in these leaders to do so, right? Because the end game of the Most High is World War III. Is to establish World War III. Really is to gather. Let me get it. Really is to gather all these nations in one place for judgment, right? This is Zephaniah the 3rd chapter 3 and 8. Therefore, wait ye upon me, saith the Lord. Right? This is speaking to his men, his elect. Wait ye upon me, man. Okay, so don't go, don't pull a trigger, pun intended, and try to attack Esau or try to attack your enemy on your own. We have to wait upon the Lord. Okay, that's first and foremost, right? It says, and that's warranted, man. He's the one that if anybody is allowed to make the first move first upon the enemy, is him. It's Yahawashi, being as though he's the one that got persecuted, okay, and hung on that cross for them, okay, and he did it for us. Anyway, therefore, wait ye upon me, saith the Lord, until the day that I rise up to the prey. Okay, it says, for my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms. Okay, now listen good, that I may assemble the kingdoms. Where is he going to assemble the kingdoms? He's going to assemble the kingdoms in the land of Jehoshaphat. That's why it's called the land of Jehoshaphat, mind you. Right? If you go into the word Jehoshaphat, it goes to the Hebrew word Yahawah, which means the Lord's judgment. The Lord is going to judge all these nations for all their wickedness they've done to the people of Israel. Okay? So his determination is to what? Gather the nations together in one place, to assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them mine indignation. even all my fierce anger. Okay, and how is he going to do that? How is he going to pour? What instrument is going to be used to pour upon these nations his anger, his fierce anger, his indignation? Fire. Okay, for all the earth shall be devoured by the fire of my jealousy. And how's that going to happen? It's going to be through these missiles. Okay, the Lord's indignation is going to be poured upon these nations. So I sort of lost my train of thought, but let me just go into Isaiah. Okay, and that's what the Most High is going to do. The Most High created these weapons. He created the spirit on these nations, these leaders, to put a lot of their money into their military for World War III, man. Okay, so you can, fuck, excuse my French, fuck what you hear on the news. Fuck what you hear on the TV or what's being reported, and how one nation and this nation are having peace treaties, and it's all peace and love and rainbows between the nations. That's farthest from the truth. The Most High. So you should ask yourself this: if there's so much peace between these nations, why is there still an arms race going on? Why are all these nations putting a lot of their money into their military? Okay. Why? Because the spirit of war is in the air, right? So this is. Let me just go ahead with it. I have a few scriptures. This is now we're gonna be going through these a lot, man. Because it's that time, right? This is Isaiah. Plus, somebody's new might be listening or watching this video, so you always gotta go over and over. Hell, the Bible goes over and over and over topics a lot. Okay, so this is Isaiah 54:16. It says, "Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire." Now that smith is basically somebody that creates things, right? Now in ancient days you had a blacksmith. He was one that created weapons, right? Okay, you had a coppersmith, okay, and so on and so forth. Now the modern day smith, the modern day creator of these weapons, okay, are these scientists that created these starting with the hydrogen bomb and the atom bomb and all this, and nuclear. We advance on to nuclear. We advance on now we're so advanced we're in a hypersonic missiles now. Okay, a hypersonic missile is a missile that goes many times the speed of sound. Okay, to and also it's evasive. It doesn't go just in one direction. It can turn and it can turn and change its direction in the air. Okay, so these weapons are getting really advanced, and that's all being done. The Most High is putting these spirit on these scientists or these modern day smiths to create weapons like this, right? So it says, "Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work, and I have created the waster to destroy." Okay. That waster, once again, are those missiles, and those missiles are created to what? To destroy. Okay, totally obliterate anything in its path, anything that it falls on, or falls upon. Right. So next scripture I got is Zechariah. This is Zechariah 14 and 12. Yes, Zechariah 14:12. And this shall be the plague. Right. That plague is speaking about those missiles. This shall be the plague, or this will be the instrument to cause destruction. And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Jerusalem meaning what? You so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, right? Because Jerusalem was a people before it was a place. Okay, in Hebrew is what? Yerushalayim, right? It says, "Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth." Now, what is that speaking about? What instrument can do that? If you want to know what instrument can do that, watch the Terminator. Terminator 2, in my opinion, is the best one that came out. Where you had Sarah Connor, she was on a gate, and she got burned while she stood upon her feet. That's showing you that these directors, these movie directors, they know the scriptures, man. Okay, and they get a lot of their ideas and inspiration from the Bible, right? it says their flesh shall consume, and you notice they don't get any other, they don't get inspiration from any other book. Okay, that's why the scripture says, and none shall want her mate. All these directors, they get inspiration from the Bible. They don't get it from the what's that fucking book? They don't get it from the Quran. Damn, I just threw a blank. The Quran. Okay. Anyway, it says their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet. Okay, just like the movie in Terminator 2, when her flesh consumed away, her eyes and her holes, her tongue and her mouth, all that consumed away. It all melted. Okay, and then she turned into dust. All right, and that's twofold, because it also means that all their things that all their future plans and the things that they say are going to happen in the future, okay, it's all going to be put away. It's all going to be brought to naught. It's all going to be consumed. Okay? One more scripture. This is Wisdom of Solomon, the 5th chapter. What verse? This is verse 21. Then shall the right aiming thunderbolts go abroad, and from the clouds and from the clouds as from a well drawn bow shall they fly to the mark. Okay, and that mark is what? It's America. Okay, those missiles are going to be shot. The majority of those missiles that are going to be shot from all nations, majority of them, America is going to get it the worst, man. How do we know America is going to get it the worst? America is going to be America or Babylon will get pelted by so many missiles. It's going to look like a lake of fire. That's what the lake of fire in Revelation is speaking about. It's speaking about that great city Babylon, which is America, being shot with so many missiles. The whole landmass of America is going to be on fire, and it's going to look like a lake of fire. Okay? All right, so that's pretty much it. There's plenty of other scriptures that speak about the missiles. I just brought out a few, and I paired it with that video in the beginning. So listen, the arms race is it's still strong. It's still going on, and it's gonna end when the Most High wants it to end. All right, and it's gonna end by World War III. Okay, in the land of Jehoshaphat. In the Hebrew, Yahawashi, where the Most High wants to judge all the nations in one place. Okay? Alright, Lord willing, you brothers are edified. Until the next show, shalawam.